Smoke curled over the wet field as gunshots echoed from every direction. British and German soldiers tried to hold their lines, but they were surrounded, confused, and falling back step by step. Their commander lay wounded, their defenses were collapsing. And in that terrible moment, they finally understood the truth. They had walked straight into a trap. Hours earlier, they had marched toward what they believed was an easy victory. A small supply post, barely guarded, nothing more than a quick raid. But now, everything was falling apart. Men shouted in languages that mixed together in fear. Muskets misfired in the damp air, and through the thick smoke, shapes moved in the trees. Silent, steady, and closing in. To understand how this disaster began, we have to go back. It was the year 1777, and the British had a plan to cut the colonies in half by marching down from Canada into New York. Their leader, General John Burgoyne, known as Gentleman Johnny, carried himself like he was on a grand parade instead of a survival march. He brought fine clothes and even carts full of personal items, almost like someone going camping with a suitcase of silver plates and wine bottles. But the war did not care about luxury. His army was running out of food, horses, and gunpowder. So he sent nearly 800 German and Loyalist troops, led by a confident officer named Colonel Friedrich Baum, to seize supplies near Bennington. He believed the place was barely protected. He believed the mission would be simple. But a rumor has a strange way of traveling faster than soldiers. Word reached the American side almost instantly, and a local leader, General John Stark, stepped forward. Stark looked like a farmer, talked like a farmer, and lived like a farmer. But inside, he carried a fire that hardened during years of fighting. When he called for help, people answered. Not trained soldiers, not a professional army, just everyday folks, neighbors, friends, fathers, sons, people who left their work behind because danger had come too close to ignore. By the time the British were approaching the area, Stark had gathered more than 1,500 militia fighters. They knew the forests and hills like the back of their own hands. They could move through the shadows quietly, like hunters tracking a deer. Baum's men had no idea how close danger really was. On the morning of the battle, the rain finally stopped. The ground was soft and slippery, and the humid air clung to everything. Baum's troops were tired from marching. They formed a rough defensive circle on a small rise, hoping the high ground would protect them. They did not know they were already surrounded. Before the attack began, Stark looked at his men and spoke words that felt heavy enough to bend the air around him. He told them, "There are your enemies. We beat them today, or Molly Stark sleeps a widow tonight." He was not trying to be poetic. He believed every word, and the men around him felt it. They were fighting, not for glory, but for the homes behind them, for their families, for land they loved. The Americans spread out through the trees, splitting into small groups. Imagine neighbors moving through the woods, with the same quiet focus as people working a field at dawn. Calm, patient, determined. Then the attack began. The woods exploded with fire and sound. Shots came from all sides like thunder bouncing around inside a hollow drum. Baum's troops tried to hold the ground, but they were overwhelmed. Stark later said it was the hottest, fiercest fighting he had ever seen. Within an hour, the British and German lines began to break. Baum himself was hit and would not survive. The Americans had won, or so they thought. Just as they began gathering prisoners, a new sound rose from the trees, a marching rhythm, steady and strong. Fresh German reinforcements were arriving, nearly 600 of them, armed and ready. The American militia was tired, scattered, and low on strength. They had fought one full battle already. Now another was coming straight at them. For a moment, it looked like the tide might turn. The new German troops pushed forward. Muskets cracked through the smoke. The hill trembled under the weight of the fight. Some American men looked around for help, but no one knew if any would arrive in time. Then, from the distance, shapes appeared through the haze. They moved fast. They moved with purpose. Help was coming. But who were they? And would they arrive in time to save the day? Or would the battle swing back toward the British in these final, desperate moments?